I've been an Albertan for my entire life. I love the province. Canada, well, I love being an Albertan. And as somebody who has watched the political spectrum in this province just go from the deep, deep valleys of the few years of an NDP government to the absolute malaise of Jason Kenney's muddling of the United Conservative Party waters. I remember the halcyon days of Ralph Klein, and now Danielle Smith, for as hard as I am on female politicians, she's doing the best job that I've seen since Ralph Klein out there, and especially representing interests of the Albertan people. I haven't seen anybody do it like Danielle Smith is doing it since the previously mentioned King Klein. And here's one such example of her representing the will of the people, because you're going to hear from a bunch of activist weirdos that are out there that are from Edmonton and from Calgary trumpet the same internet talking points that you will from any big city in the Western world. But when it comes to the desires of the average Albertan, not too dissimilar to that to the average Texan or Floridian. It's just instead of cowboy hats and gator skin shoes, you just get Carhartts and parkas. Alberta Premier says legislation on gender policies for children, youth coming this fall. Yeah, she made this announcement right at the beginning of February. And we got a couple of bullet points. We'll see if any of these are terribly objectionable. Spoiler, I remember seeing this at the time and going, yeah, no, it totally makes sense. Might as well put this in place because while you have the reins of power right now, you won a strong majority last summer. This is going to be an issue into the future as all of these creeps try to claw back more power. At a news conference Thursday, we're talking back in February, right? Smith defended her rationale for planning to restrict healthcare options. Look at the way that these freaks, especially over at the CBC, Justin Trudeau's government-funded mouthpiece, restrict healthcare options to youth and inform parents of any name and gender identity changes. Why are they taking umbrage with the fact that, okay, cool, these are children making life-altering decisions, and Danielle Smith and the UCP, United Conservative Party, want to, I don't know, make the parents, make the legal guardians aware of these monumental changes. They want to take issue with that. Okay. I'm confident that Albertans do not want children to make irreversible decisions that impact their reproductive health. Yeah, no, I'm pretty much on board with that. I don't have any kids. Do not have a dog in this race. I'm just simply somebody who thinks that, yeah, okay, if you can't legally drive by yourself, if you cannot legally vote, not paying taxes, I don't think that you're qualified to be making such altering choices to your body. Hell, if you can't even get a tattoo without the consent of an adult, why do you think that you'd be of sound mind and body to be lopping off anything or sticking something on? I'm confident that they don't think those are child decisions to make, that those are adult decisions to make. Well, okay, yeah, I'm with you in the first half, but in the second half, I think if you're unironically making those decisions, there's other problems at play. But she's looking at a couple of measures, right? Because nothing's been tabled in the House of Commons quite yet. Nothing has been taken to Edmonton, but here's some of these unreasonable measures, right? Top and bottom surgeries will be banned for minors aged 17 and under. And doctors say bottom surgeries aren't performed on youth and top surgeries are rare. Yeah, but they still happen. So you know what? Banning them, you're getting out ahead of the curve. Makes sense. Puberty blockers and hormone therapies for gender affirmation. I hate the CBC so much. Will not be permitted for children under the age of aged 15 and under. I would say you're giving them way too much leeway. All of this stuff should be until you turn 18. All of it's off the table. But especially with a lot of the new findings we're discovering right now for all of those creeps that were out there saying, oh, the puberty blockers or the hormone therapies are completely, totally reversible. Oh, well, do they not want to follow the new science that's out there? Anyways, youths aged 16 and 17 will be permitted to start hormone therapies for gender affirmation as long as they've deemed mature enough and have parental, physician, and psychologist approval. Okay. Again, I don't think that this is strict enough, but if you're going to be making those concessions, yeah, having everybody sign off. But I understand that, there's a lot of, especially in the lower mainland and the Vancouver area, where a lot of these ideas fomented, where you have this little apparatus of more than willing doctors and psychologists that are pushing these ideologies onto these kids. But that's for BC to decide and, sort out. Parental notifications and consent will be required for a school to alter the name or pronouns of any child under the age of 15. not going far enough, but okay. Students who are 16 or 17 won't need permission, but schools will need to let their parents know first. Okay. Parents will have to opt in their children every time a teacher plans to teach about gender identity, sexual orientation, and sexuality. I'm not against that. Not against that. Alberta law currently requires parental notification and gives them the option to opt students out. But now they're flipping that on its head. Because I remember when we had sex ed, God, that must have been 6th or 7th grade. I can't remember. I remember the school I was at, but I can't remember specifically what grade it was. A lot of it just kind of runs together. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we had permission slips on that one. All third-party teaching materials on gender identity, sexual orientation, and sexuality will need to be approved in advance by the Education Ministry. The fact that it needs to be approved by the Education Ministry, as corrupt as that body is. Okay, in theory it should work, but okay, transgender women will be banned from competing in women's sports leagues. Hey, there you go. Smith said the government will work with leagues to set up co-ed or gender-neutral divisions for sport. There you go. That's probably the most action I've seen on that specific issue from anybody anywhere. So yeah, shout out Danielle Smith. Okay, all of those seem but they don't go far enough for my own personal preferences. When it comes to 2024, and especially in Canada, and especially in a Western country, a lot of those are reasonable. Very reasonable, to say the least. So have the healthiest looking individual opine on this subject where they're just doing a spot at a Calgary Comic Con. Yeah, I know who I'm going to go ahead and take the advice of: a mother, a good leader of this province, as opposed to some freak from Toronto who's on their 14.5 minutes of their 15 minutes of fame post-transition. Elliot Page criticizes Alberta government for trans policies at Calgary Comic Expo event. Let's see how educated they are on the subject. That's why we went through a little bit of a history on the subject, even though nothing's in place yet. But please, let's take life advice from somebody who looks like that on their best day. Actor and activist Elliot Page offered a parent's some guidance and blasted the Alberta government Sunday at the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo. Page, who stars in Umbrella Academy, just got cancelled, was asked by a parent for advice about everything going on right now. Probably doesn't even know anything that's in place and how to speak to their son about gender identity. I don't even know what so far Elliot sounds like anymore, but I remember what Juno sounds like. So sorry with what you're dealing with, Page said. As a parent, that must be so challenging, painful, and frightening, and it's probably even more difficult as a single mom. I guess for me, he added, it's all about solidarity and community. Okay, so it's all about standing strong by yourself, but being a part of a group. What a bundle of sticks. You connect with other parents. You connect with other allies and stand up to that BS coming out right now. Name anything specific. Just anything specific. And love your son. And clearly you do, and support him. So much so that you can't point to anything specifically. Page criticized Alberta policies on trans rights. Which ones are rights? The right to access taxpayer money in order to do a bunch of experimental surgeries that we're going to find out in a couple of years, oopsie daisy, are actually exacerbating problems instead of just getting down to the bottom underlying issue that gender dysphoria is a real thing, but I'm pretty sure it's being overprescribed. Don't know. I'm not an expert on the subject. I can just simply look at patterns and realize that, oopsie daisy, there's a bit of an outlier. But yes, Page said to this empty room at the Junos, empty like her womb. First of all, it's awful, it's harmful, it stems from misinformation about healthcare, our lives, who we are. It's policies that go against advice of the Alberta Medical Association, the AHS, Alberta Health Services, Alberta Medical Association. You don't even know what body you're talking about. Apropos. And the Canadian Pediatric Society. This is coming from CTV. You think that they'd provide sources if they could back any of this stuff up, but nope. Seriously, this has serious impact on people's lives, like the father you just saw and his sons and all the individuals just trying to live their lives and thrive and grow in safe environments. All of these emotional plays, you're not pointing to any specific examples. I made reference of one such instance that happened in Vancouver when you had a father embroiled in this devastating custody battle where the mother, the gold digger in this situation, was trying to force a child, a 14-year-old, to transition, and when they were in this contentious legal battle in the family courts, he got thrown in jail for a couple of days because he refused to refer to his child under their chosen new pronouns. Disgusting. Page also reflected on the challenges he faced growing up in Nova Scotia. If you're unfamiliar with the geography of Canada, let me lay this out to you, okay? If you're American-based, this is like somebody from New York criticizing what's going on in Utah. It's not even close. It's really not even close. You don't understand anything. And while there are a bunch of Nova Scotians that have come over, especially post-oil boom of the mid-2000s, the ones that come over here, generally good people. But you can go ahead and take back whatever Page is called at this point in time. The first time I tried to talk about my sexuality at 15, my mom, who is so supportive and amazing, yelled to me, "That doesn't exist." Yeah, I'm sure you had that conversation. I'm sure that was the case. So forcibly outing children to their parents, taking away any sort of agency to them to be themselves, particularly when it's not backed by medical institutions. Well, again, now you can take a look at the research that's out there and realize that you're the one who has information that's not backed by the medical institution. Trust the experts, guys. It's appalling. It's just appalling. The audience responded with a lot of loud applause. I'd imagine loud applause was had for this expo. I'm sure the gallery was filled to the brim. This is another one of those situations where sometimes, you take a look at something, you can just deduce the outcome with your eyes. It's really that simple in cases such as this, where you have Elliot Page talking about people trying to live their best life. And whenever you see former Ellen talk about health and wellness and people living their best life, when they look like that all the time, are you really apt to listen to their advice? It's like when Boogie 2988 talks about weight loss, okay? Like, are you going to believe a guy who blew through a gastric bypass surgery, how to be living a better life? Okay, Movie Bob does the exact same thing, telling people if they feel bad that they should go outside and, just exercise for 20 minutes a day. Meanwhile, he spends his entire life terminally online. These people aren't well, but instead of getting to the underlying issues, the ones that are normally between the ears, they try to lash out irrationally at people that they see are attacking their identity, when in actuality, they're just trying to keep kids safe from predators such as yourself. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.